Not that it's a competition or anything, but if there was an award for the person who hated running the most, I would have won it. I'm not exactly sure when the hatred started, but it was probably around the time they made running a popularity contest in gym class where the fit, fast, popular kids were quickly distinguished from the unfit, slow, unpopular kids. I was obviously the latter. Running also didn't particularly make me feel very good about myself. Ever. I never got the runner's high everyone talked about. I just got chest pains and breathing issues and extreme boredom. I never really understood what the purpose was other than to lose weight and to feel miserable. And the last time I ran was when I ran 5 kilometers for a video like 3 years ago, and I'm pretty sure my exact words were, "I will never be a runner." I'm never running again, and I hate it, and you guys are all crazy. Fast forward to present me. I've now done 2 half marathons, 1 full marathon, and I'm currently training for my 2nd full marathon, the London Marathon. But the one thing I still do love more than running is food, so I hope you enjoy seeing everything I ate the week leading up to my first half marathon in Singapore. Something I always like to do is to start my days off with some type of movement. If it's not a run, it's usually yoga or some type of strength training. But something else I really like to do is to not follow trends, mainly because I'm usually on average 6 months late to learning about them because I rarely talk to other human beings, and I don't have TikTok or whatever the kids are using these days. One day, a while back, someone told me that running had become the new trend, that everyone was training for a half or full marathon, and I was like, this is the perfect example of why I don't like trends. And then when I went to study abroad in Singapore, I suddenly was thrown into a lot of social situations, and literally everyone was running or talking about running, and I was like, why am I surrounded by crazy people? And I guess their crazy rubbed off on me a little because I suddenly had a very strong urge to sign up for a half marathon, so I went on my first run, and I haven't stopped since. In no way, shape, or form do I have the credentials to be advising you on how to run. I'm not a running coach or a sports dietitian. I have 0 certificates or qualifications. So if you're looking for someone with a PhD in running, that's not me. All I have are a pair of running shoes, a collection of running mistakes, and somehow, against all the odds, a deep burning passion for the sport of running. I learned everything I know through trial and error and by reading basically every running article on the internet, so please take everything I say with a large pinch of salt. Since I started from 0, I did almost everything wrong, which is great because I have a lot of advice about what not to do, but the one thing I did right was use a reliable training plan. If I didn't have a training plan, honestly, I probably wouldn't have even started because I would have been way too confused and overwhelmed, and I'd end up winging all my runs and probably end up getting injured. With a plan, you don't have to worry about if you're overtraining or increasing mileage too fast or when to rest or how to taper. They just do all the thinking for you, so all you have to do is run. And thankfully, there are a ton of amazing training plans out there. Personally, like many others, I used the Nike Run Club app, which I kind of see as the gateway running app. It single-handedly made me fall in love with running. Their audio-guided runs make it feel like you have your own personal running buddy. This app kind of changed my brain chemistry. Suddenly, running became a privilege, not a weight loss tool. I wanted to run to feel a certain way instead of look a certain way, and it really made me believe that being a runner is not defined by the speed or distance you run. Over time, I upgraded to the Runna app, which is what I'm using now, which I'd say is a couple levels up from the Nike Run Club app because Nike has the same training plan for everyone, while Runna does personalized plans for any and every fitness level and running goal. My running workouts and strength workouts and a ton of useful training tips are all on this app. I'll link both in the description for you guys. The Nike Run Club app is actually free, and Runna is a paid subscription, but worth every penny in my opinion. And I do have a discount code, it's Linda, and it'll give you 2 weeks free. For this half marathon, the plan had me running 5 times a week, but to be completely honest, I usually only got in 3 runs a week since I was traveling a lot during these 3 months, so I ended up prioritizing my long run and my speed runs, but skipped a lot of recovery runs, which I don't recommend doing because easy-paced runs should consist of 80% of your runs, and it's how you build your running base. But all I'm trying to say is that the goal is not to be perfect. I personally believe running shouldn't stress you out or feel like a chore, and if it does, it means we're taking it a little too seriously. However, injuries are very serious, and those recovery runs and easy runs are there to help my legs adapt to the distance so I don't get injured, but there's no such thing as the perfect runner. It's okay if you don't have perfect shoe rotation or do every planned run or always hit your protein goal post-workout. It's totally okay to need a walking break during your runs. Last speed run before the half marathon done. I can't believe we come this far. How I like to see it is that there will always be more that you can do. Eat more balance, strength train more, do more mobility, more speed, more hills, put in more hours. But someone said to me recently, done is always better than perfect. I was like, well, you're right. Plus, I've found that runners have a lot of opinions when it comes to how many days a week to train, what to eat, when to eat, whether to carb load or not, what shoe is the best, when to rest, but it all really just depends. Don't get me wrong, it's great to get a lot of opinions and perspectives, but you kind of just have to try trial and error to form your own. You'll learn so much more through actually running than reading or listening to a random girl on YouTube talk about running. Oh my god. I have been on a bagel kick. I cannot stop consuming them. Today I was a little ambitious and I even added a hash brown. He is plump. Oh, good lord. The layers are avocado, lettuce, onion, tomato, hash brown, bacon, egg. Oh my god. I thought I'd just take a second to de-influence you a little. People on social media are gonna tell you that you need this new shoe or these new headphones or this new matching running set. So good. And I get it, since we have to make a living somehow, and sponsorships are how I can make enough money to afford this glorious bagel, but it's really important to keep that in mind when you are scrolling. Most of the time, we do not need more. Literally, the only thing I bought for this half marathon were the running shoes because I didn't own any, and obviously the sign-up fee. But I ran with broken earphones, my phone in my hand, and old workout clothes and socks I had in my closet. It might not seem like it, but I'm actually very picky about where I spend my money. My top expense is probably food. The cost is just so worth the joy it adds to my life. Like this chicken katsudon, which was totally worth every dollar. It's like fried chicken and egg doused in sweet and savory sauce over rice. So yummy. Anyways, back to running. While gear does not make you a better runner, it can help you feel better on your runs, which I think is really worth it in the long run because you're gonna be spending a lot of time on your feet. So here are a couple things I think are worth the money and I would tell my past self to get. Obviously a good pair of running shoes. Go to the running store, get your gait and your feet analyzed, try a bunch on, and the best running shoe is the best shoe for you. A high quality pair of earphones is better than getting a new one every time a cheap one breaks. And trust me, it will break. My favorite are the Shokz bone conducting, not sponsored, just a great pair of earphones. I know electrolytes are expensive, but if you're running somewhere hot and humid like Singapore, trust me, it'll help so much with recovery, cramps, and your energy levels. Something, anything to hold your phone, a belt, an armband, a vest. I've seen sports bras and leggings and shorts that all can hold phones. A vest or like a handheld water bottle, you will feel 10 times better running hydrated. And I didn't buy my running watch until after my first full marathon. And in my opinion, I don't think it's essential, but it has helped me a lot with my pacing and monitoring my heart rate so that I'm actually keeping my easy runs easy and I can recover better. But my one friend who inspired me to start running has been running for around 5 years, and she's very talented and very sweetie, and she still runs with her phone in her hand with the dangly wired Apple earphones and has literally lost both her big toenails because her shoes are too small. That just goes to show you how you look, what you wear, and the gear you own is not what makes you a runner. Before we continue, I just want to take a minute and talk about today's sponsor, Ritual. I've actually been using Ritual for their multivitamins for a couple years now, at least on the days that I remember to, but I have been really good about it for the past couple of weeks. I take the Essential for Women 18+, which is a clinically backed, clean, high-quality multivitamin for women 18 to 49 to help fill key nutrient gaps in the diet. I just take 2 capsules daily, and they are delayed release capsules, which I like because it tends to be a little more gentle on the stomach. They're also vegan friendly, non-GMO certified, gluten-free, and formulated without any major allergens. They are also USP verified, which is a third-party quality certification, which sets one of the highest bars for product transparency. And I found out that less than 1% of all multivitamins are actually USP verified. So now I feel really good about what I'm putting into my body. And these are the other ones I take. It's their Symbiotic Plus, which is a 3-in-1 prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic that supports a balanced microbiome and digestive health, because I find that when my gut is happy, I am happy. Another cool thing about Ritual is that it's subscription based, so you never have to run out. If you want to check Ritual out, you can scan the QR code on the screen, or I have a link you can click in the description that will get you 25% off your first order. One of the other few things I did right was completely forget about the numbers. I actually didn't run based on pace, but on my perceived effort. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being full out sprinting. My recovery runs were a 3 or 4 out of 10. My tempos were like a 6 out of 10. It was kind of like intuitive running, which I really liked because your energy levels are going to be different day to day, and I didn't want to base how successful my runs went off a number, and not looking at or thinking about the numbers completely changed running for me. Before, if I didn't outrun my last run, it was a bad run. If I didn't burn X amount of calories, it was a bad run. If I didn't feel like I was literally about to pass away by the end of my run, it was a bad run. So obviously, I dreaded every run. But this time around, I went outside and explored my city. I saw the sunrise, I focused on my breathing, and when I stopped looking at the numbers, it gave me the chance to notice instead how accomplished and peaceful and strong and free I felt. It's pretty cool how the things you choose to focus on can really change your entire run or even your entire life. because there are a lot of things that I am not. I'm not the fastest or the fittest or the funniest or the prettiest or the most positive. I'm not the most consistent or creative, but there are also a couple things that I am. I'm a person who doesn't give up easily. I am brave enough to start something new and to be bad at it. And I can run so much further than I could last year, because last year I didn't run. But rather than focusing on the paces you aren't hitting or the distances you can't run yet, or how freaking hard every run is and how much harder it's gonna get, consider the fact that a past version of you wouldn't even be running or even wanted to run. So be proud of yourself for that and just run the run that you can right now.
Why is she perfect? Oh my good lord. That's so good.
Some running coaches have said that they wouldn't recommend people who are new to running to run a half marathon unless they have 6 months to train. Of course, it does depend since everyone is starting out at a different fitness level.
I'm so happy right now. This pastry thing, ridiculous.
Personally, I wish I had trained for longer. Taking more time to build your running base can help prevent getting injuries. I always tell myself to remember it's a marathon, not a sprint, and the person who took the least amount of months to train, they're not gonna get a prize. They're probably just gonna get injured. Even though it seems like everyone is running half marathons in their sleep on social media, 21 kilometers is ridiculously long. Like, my brain couldn't even make sense of covering that much distance. There's nothing small or normal or easy about running 21 kilometers, and it's not worth any less than running a full marathon. Only 0.4% of the population completes a half marathon every year, okay? But the good thing about seeing everyone running is that it can be a great reminder that so can you. There really is no point in competing or comparing ourselves against other runners. You don't know their genetics, or if this is their 50th marathon or first marathon, or the amount of time that they were able to spend training. Just because other people's wins are faster and longer does not mean that your wins don't count. Social media makes us believe that if a run is less than 5 kilometers, it doesn't count, and that you're not a runner if you run slow. But I just want to say that running at all, for any amount of time, for any distance, at any speed, is a huge deal. Your first 1 kilometer without stopping is a huge deal. Your first 10 minutes without stopping is huge. 5 kilometers is huge. 21 kilometers is huge, no matter how fast you did it. I've said this before and I will never stop saying this. I think one of the most important things while training for your first half or full marathon is to slow down. Like, way slower than you think. Running used to be so painful because I thought I had to be like sprinting the whole time. But once you master the art of running slowly, running will never be the same. But running your easy runs easy can ironically be very hard. It actually took so much effort for me to put in less effort. Last short recovery run for the half marathon. I've never been good at slowing down. I've always had a slight obsession with productivity and work, so unsurprisingly to me, one of the hardest parts about training wasn't actually the running, it was the resting. I don't know, I've always been a very extreme person. If I wasn't giving 110%, I'd feel like a failure. But I've learned over time that just because you are more tired or sweaty or sore does not mean it was a better run. Just because you suffer more does not mean you are more worthy. Rest days should be treated just as, or even more important than an actual workout, because it's during the times we rest where our bodies actually repair and get stronger. And it's always better to be a little undertrained than overtrained. You may not improve as fast or race as often as others, but at least you won't get injured and have to stop running for weeks or months. Remember, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Some other mistakes I made were not doing running specific strength training to prevent injuries. I also did not do enough stretching pre-run to prevent injuries. I also just never drank water running in 30 degrees Celsius, super high humidity Singapore, which led to runs feeling harder, headaches, muscle cramps, nausea, and I didn't buy electrolytes because I thought they were too expensive. Saving $50 is not worth dehydration and feeling like death. And my worst mistake is that I didn't fuel my runs. I obviously fueled during the day. As you can see, I eat a lot of food. I just didn't fuel my actual runs. In my head, I wasn't a real runner yet, whatever that means. So fueling before my runs and using gels on my long runs didn't apply to me. But that's just not how it works. And because I didn't fuel during training, my stomach was not trained to handle pre-run fuel or fuel while running, so I didn't fuel during the race and obviously hit a big fat wall. Fueling not only ensures you have enough energy to keep going, but it also helps you recover faster and prevents injuries in the long run.
Oh, this is so good. Why haven't I eaten this until now? I don't want to leave. I just want to eat this every day for the rest of my life. She gave me the biggest slice.
I think one of the most transformative parts about these 3 months is that running gave me an entirely new appreciation for my body. Which is kind of funny because for most of my life, I ran because I was embarrassed that this was my body. But kilometer after kilometer, run after run, I started thinking, I cannot believe that I'm lucky enough that this body is mine. And I'm so grateful that my body allows me to feel so free and run so far and see so much of the world and become new versions of myself. And it just really showed me all the greatest moments in life, and everything that actually matters has absolutely nothing to do with the way my body looks. So this was the day before the half marathon, and I woke up and did a little light chill yoga Pilates stretch session because I wanted my body to feel like 300% recovered and ready to run tomorrow. And I always find that movement, especially yoga, helps me calm my nerves. And I spent the rest of the morning eating with Izzy, who is the friend who runs with her phone in her hand and has no big toenails, and has just been the most supportive friend during my running journey. I smell the pastries.
I'm lost. Where am I going?
And she also happens to share my passion for pastries and bread. So we spent the entire morning at her favorite bakery in Singapore devouring this yummy spread, and this is exactly what I needed to distract myself from the pre-race jitters, because I was jittering pretty hard. Sometimes I get a little embarrassed about how much I care about things like this half marathon that I know is just for fun. Like, there shouldn't be any pressure, no one cares if I run it or not, but I care. And I've been told so many times to just chill, relax, to try less hard, to care less. And at times, I wish I could, because caring so much usually just ends with me in a puddle of tears, or irrationally hurt, or super disappointed, or emotionally exhausted and in therapy. Unfortunately, that is just a part of life for those of us who have sensitive souls, but so are extraordinary moments of joy, an enormous capacity to love, so much appreciation for the mundane, really deep, meaningful connections, and like magical moments that simply consume you. Every loss feels bigger, but so does every win. Hi! So I know this one guy who just showed up on race day with 0 training, and I had friends who trained maybe a total of 3 weeks. So yeah, I could have put less time and sweat and heart into training, but I feel like it just wouldn't have been the same 21 kilometers. It would have felt like a completely different race. Now, since the weather in Singapore is deadly hot and humid, the race started at 4 a.m, so my bedtime was a little earlier today.
It's 6 p.m. It is still bright outside, but I have to get a taxi tomorrow at 2:50. I'm gonna try to sleep. Honestly, I think I will be able to fall asleep. On the Headspace app, there's like sleep sounds. There's like pink noise and brown noise and rainforest noise. I just press it, I play it, I close my eyes, I take a deep breath, and I'm just out. It's pretty insane. Anyways, I'm gonna try to do that. I'm so excited. I hope it doesn't downpour. I'm sleeping so early that I'm afraid I'm gonna be hungry. We'll see how I'm feeling, and we'll learn from our mistakes. Good night, everyone. Sweet dream.
Maybe I'll do pink noise today. Ooh, I like that. Good night, everyone.
Your cynicism makes me sad for all world.
So I ended up waking up at 11 p.m. and ate some oatmeal before napping until 2 a.m. so I could have time to eat some more carbs and mentally prepare myself because I was nervous. It was feeling a little too real now. And I also just had no fueling plan, no warm-up routine, no pacing strategy. All I knew is that I had to get there at a disturbingly early time, run 21 kilometers, which I had never run that far before, pray that my legs wouldn't break, and try not to die. Everyone's tip for first-time half or full marathon runners is to not start too fast, to conserve your energy and pace yourself. So the entire time I was yelling at myself to slow the frick down, but I don't know if it was the adrenaline or the excitement or the 12 pieces of dried sugary mangoes I ate before the race. I was weaving between people and feeling speedy and energetic, and then at kilometer 10-ish, the wall was hit. Luckily, around 13 kilometers, I stopped at my first hydration station, and the sports drink completely revived me. I was downing 3 cups of these things at a time at every water station after that. I've now learned to stop at every station, no matter how not thirsty I feel. I also am a runner who struggles with gut issues a lot, and for the majority of this half marathon, my stomach was not happy with me. At kilometer 4, I was praying the cramp would go away. At 8 kilometers, I really thought I might just have to hop into a bush, but it was really dark and I couldn't even see any bushes. I felt really miserable. Like, it's hard enough to run in the Singapore heat, and then on top of that, having a huge stomach ache, but I just kept focusing on the person in front of me and on my breath, and luckily by kilometer 14, 15-ish, it kind of just went away. There are a lot of reasons why runners suffer with gut issues. Mine, I feel like, was dehydration and not going to the bathroom before the race, because it was literally in the middle of the night. Training for a race also means training your stomach, which, as I mentioned, I completely didn't do. But sometimes, even if you do everything right, some things just aren't in our control. I don't want to frighten you, but I actually think this was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm not gonna lie, I had never wanted to stop running more than I did during this. You're in pain and tired and thirsty, and it's only natural to want to quit. There were so many times where I was like, there's no way I can keep up this pace for 9 more kilometers. There's no way my kneecap is not gonna pop out. There's no way I'm not gonna poop my pants. I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. But honestly, the only thing that kept me going was looking around and seeing all these other runners of all ages and body types and backgrounds and fitness levels who were fighting and pushing through the same pain beside me, and that somehow just keeps you going. Like, you don't even know how you could be inspiring someone by just being yourself.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
As someone who sets pretty high expectations for herself, it's not very often I feel proud of myself or celebrate my wins. I kind of just expect it of myself, you know? And maybe it's because my expectations were so low for myself this time around, because I didn't run the fastest, and I didn't properly pace myself, I didn't fuel, but I also didn't poop my pants, I didn't give up when I wanted to, I didn't fall in my butt like my friend Amy did, and I have never felt more proud of myself than the moment I crossed the finish line. It was the feeling of doing something you never thought you could.
I can't believe I just did that.
The feeling of becoming someone you never thought you'd be. I can't believe I did it. That's crazy.
Barbells are so good.
I'm so hungry that I'm not even putting on clothes.
My god. Fuel. These might be the best protein bars I've ever tasted in my life. I spent $6 on this bar, guys, and it might be worth it. My plan is to go get bagels.
Hello there. I'm ready.
One bad and the
So yummy.
months ago. I can't remember. Oh, that's the store mascot.
During the half marathon, when I was in my pain cave, which, to be completely honest, was like 70% of the run, but it got like really bad at 18 kilometers. I was thinking back to my very first run in Singapore, totally oblivious to how all of this would play out, dreading the early mornings, the heat, the soreness, but also excited to see if I could do it. I can like clearly remember my first speed run, my first hill sprints, the time I completed my longest run ever, 16 kilometers, and I thought to myself, actually, I think I can do this. In this pain cave, I was thinking about all of the times I wanted to stop running during training and didn't, and just knew that I was strong enough to keep going now too. I think in the beginning, I just wanted to show myself that I was capable of running more kilometers, but along the way, running showed me that I'm running for so much more. I'm running for the girl who has never stopped worrying if going to Singapore would be worth it, if she'd make friends, if she'd make memories, if she'd have to quit being a creator because of the algorithm. See? You had nothing to worry about. I run for the girl who puts so much pressure on her own future, a perfectionist who is slowly learning how to embrace not having control in every aspect of her life. See, it doesn't have to go perfectly for you to be proud. Oh, do we run for the girl who used running to punish her body for looking the wrong way? Do you see what your body was made for now? It's crazy because I look in the mirror and I don't see extra skin and fat and imperfect body proportions. I see a body that can run, that survives and endures, that laughs like a choking cow, that feels joy, and eats all of the pastries, obviously. During the hardest, most painful kilometers, I kept thinking back to the girl I was a year ago who felt so hopeless and empty and directionless and lonely. Back then I knew it would get better and I would feel better and it was all going to come together, but I just didn't know when, and this is when. I realized it's not about proving to myself that I can complete 21 kilometers. It's about proving to myself that I can keep going, even when it's hard and it's dark and it's painful. Because genuinely, if I, the biggest running hater in the universe, can do this, it's hard not to believe that I can do anything. And when I was running, I just couldn't stop thinking, look how far you've come. Look at who you've become. I am a runner.